I'm back. Well, it's been a year since South Africans and companies pledged to do good as part of the Global Citizen Festival, but is that actually happening? Well, an accountability report has been released, and let's find out from the Director of Global Citizen Africa, Chebet Chikumbu, and Tukwini Mandela, Madiba's granddaughter. Thank you so much for your time, ladies. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So I've read this. I want you to tell me what's happening. Who's keeping up to their word and who isn't?
Great. Thank you so much for having us today, Shahan. So from the Mandela 100 campaign, which was a campaign that was brought to South Africa through the House of Mandela and presenting partner Motsepe Foundation, we have noted some incredible progress to date, in that of the 104 billion rand that was committed by various commitment makers, whether in government or corporates, 36 billion of that has actually been dispersed and allocated to date, making it about 35%. Over a third of the funds that were committed on the Mandela 100 stage have been fully allocated to the various local implementation partners or directly to beneficiaries. So we're very proud of this progress, especially because a lot of the commitments were multi-year commitments ranging from 3 to 5 years. So to be marking or seeing this number a year on is incredibly wonderful and something that we're very proud of.
So where are we lagging behind? Where can we do better in terms of those commitments actually being realized? Tukwini?
Well, I think education is one of them. South Africa's education system seems, at the face of it, that it's really, really good. But I think people will note that, well, it's an interesting fact that I actually learned about a week ago myself, is that South Africa invests in education per capita more than the US and the UK. However, with our 423 billion allocation to education, we send a majority of the money back to the government. So that money is not utilized properly. So we have issues around education that we need to really address. My grandfather felt very strongly about education, and that every South African child should have the benefit of an education. And this is not something that is that's charity. It's something that they deserve as a human right, as part of addressing the imbalances of the past. So I think for us as the House of Mandela, we are looking at that. Another issue that we're looking at is food security in South Africa. About 10 million tons, I think, of food are wasted each year. So we have started a food security project in Qunu, because my grandfather was an avid farmer. Yeah. And he usually planted and he gave that food to the people in the community. So we also want to set up a demonstration farm to allow people to be able to farm for themselves and and get food for themselves. So if you look at the Eastern Cape, for example, most people get their food from Durban, which is ridiculous, because the Eastern Cape has lots and lots of arable land. Yeah, exactly. So, we should be able to use that land to feed people, but not only to feed people, but to allow people to generate incomes for themselves. Yeah.
So let's talk about the ordinary citizens who made pledges, who did some good, but should be doing more. Did they actually just do it to go and see Beyonce, or are they continuing with this pledge to do good?
They are continuing with this pledge, and it's so great to see that we have this incredible engagement. We've had a growth in our registered users from about 270,000 at the time of the Mandela 100 campaign. We are currently at 299,000 South Africans that are engaged with our content, still participating in action taking and holding world leaders to account. And that's just within the South African scope. If we look further afield across the continent, we have 435,000 engaged Africans that are really here to, they're very invested in transforming their societies and their communities and using digital technology as a form to raise their voice through the Global Citizen platform.
Yeah. And Tukwini, can we put a number as to how many people are actually getting help after these pledges from last year? Can we say how many people have been helped because of it?
Well, we have a number of organizations. I can't give you an exact number, Shahan, but we have a number of organizations that we worked with. And we have the Be Good Foundation that has been working with us, especially with supplying young girls with pads, because some of them, have their monthly cycle and they're not able to make it to school, purely because this is something that they cannot afford. So I think that we've done that project to make sure that it can have a national impact as opposed to having a provincial impact. And I myself identify with that because I'm female myself. So for me, that is the one project that actually stood out for me, is that we're actually, supplying young girls with these things so that they can go to school and get an education.
Yeah, that is very important. Thank you so much for your time and your insight. It's good to know that we're actually doing what we said we were going to do.
Yes.
Appreciate your time.